locking back in, we're on the clock, 10 minutes, let's make it happen. The quote that's gonna get us started is, if you look at your job as a 9 to 5, you're already behind the 8 ball.
Yeah, so this is a common topic that we see with people around our age as well. A lot of people dread the 9 to 5, say they're in the rat race, but Davis has a unique approach to it that I'm also trying to take on myself. But you want to go more into that quote and what it means exactly, and how you feel about the whole 9 to 5?
Pretty much, we think that a lot of people just look at their job as, oh, it's just a 9 to 5. It's just something that I do because I have to, not because I want to do it and because I take pride in it. And I think that outlook is extremely limiting. People have 8 hours every single day, or if they just go in full focus, they can do something meaningful. But too often they say, oh, I'm just gonna waste this time or not use it effectively. And people say, oh, I don't have enough time in a day, I don't have this, I don't have that. But really, if they just went in, focused those 8 hours at their work, they're probably gonna do something good and feel good about it at the same time.
So a couple scenarios. What happens if you have somebody that hates their job, like absolutely hates it? What advice would you give them?
Part of the reason that they might hate it is the perspective. I think a lot of things in life are perspective. I know you've got that famous quote, was that everyone's heart is different, where sometimes people can make their job seem worse. A lot of 9 to 5 jobs, honestly, they pay pretty well. They're good work overall. You're not damaging your body usually doing them, and you have a chance to use your mind to solve some type of problem, and most importantly, help people around you. So I think a lot of times people can look at their jobs and see the positives. If a job really doesn't fit with someone, then maybe they can look for something else to do within their company or somewhere else. But I think a lot of times you can find the good things in a job and say, okay, maybe this really does have more positives than I thought. Maybe I don't hate it. Maybe it is pretty good.
Yeah, and then whoever, do a test, maybe change your perspective, and then after a certain amount of time, if you still absolutely hate it, it's probably time for you to try to find something else. Which I think that process deters a lot of people from getting a new job, because the hiring process of applying to jobs, getting your cover letter together, your resume, it's tedious, and it's also not the most fun thing to do. So I mean, I bet that speaking from my personal experience in terms of that whole process, it's pretty annoying, but it's necessary if you have to make a change. And it's no good if you're staying in a position that you truly dislike, even if you have changed your perspective.
I agree. Yeah, it's probably whether you're coming out of college trying to get your first job, or if you're switching. Imagine there's some high-level people out there that make switches. It's probably still uncomfortable.
Yeah, and scenario 2, you also hear people that say they have to have a certain job because they have to have bills to pay. They have to do this. What are your thoughts on what advice do you have there?
Well, I'm not in that situation. I mean, obviously I don't have a family. I don't have those same commitments, so I can't understand that pressure. And obviously probably work does take away from other people's time that they want you somewhere else. Everything in life has an opportunity cost. But yeah, I feel like that adds a whole nother pressure and necessity that can make a lot more stress day to day and within the job.
Yeah, where like you said, it's a necessity to work in order to pay those bills, in order to support that family. So you have to do what you have to do, which is interesting. I heard something, I guess another thing that I think about too is a lot of people, if they complain about going to a 9 to 5, speaking about people our age that we kind of know, I posed the question of what would you be doing if you weren't doing this?
That's a good question.
Because I feel like the majority of society needs the structure. Because if they didn't, I don't think the system would work.
I agree. Yeah, we need jobs to fill the certain roles. Otherwise, things aren't going to get done. And obviously, there will be some people who like it and just want to go above and beyond, put in extra hours. But maybe people just have an innovative idea too. You can only work 6 hours a day. Maybe you're really productive and you still do something really good for society.
Yeah, that's another thing we talk about is your productive output, rather than the number of hours that you put in doesn't necessarily correlate to your productivity level.
Yes.
Some people may be able to do the same amount of work in 3 hours, and it takes someone to do it in 10
hours.
So there's also kind of
write faster.
Yeah, and problem solve or whatever. You talk about all the time how technology helps.
Yes.
Having these new softwares that come into play that makes a job that took 6 people 30 hours now takes 2 people 15 hours, which is interesting, just that innovation as well.
I agree. I think you have a great point. In society, we need people to work. We need the support. Who else is going to keep everyone's money safe if someone's not doing it? Or whether it's working at the grocery store, construction, hospitals. I mean, people depend on it.
So do you think or this idea of escaping the rat race, where does that come from?
I think it's just an idea that people keep pushing, especially as there's more automation in the economy thanks to technology, like you're saying. It frees people up a lot more to think and question. And so because of that, let's say if instead a job would take 12 hours, people had to work sun up to sundown, but now our work week keeps getting shorter and shorter. I remember people thought when it went from 6 days to 5 days a week, it would be disastrous and people have too much time on their hands. So I think there's honestly more and more people probably do escape somewhat a rat race where they just work sun up to sundown. They have a chance to think, okay, what can we do to make the world better? And it gets some people down instead of viewing it as an opportunity.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I don't know. It was weird because in my specific journey in college, I remember saying to myself, I don't want to work a 9 to 5, because there was a lot of people we were hanging out with who would say that. They would talk about the rat race, this and that. And it almost seemed like this daunting lifestyle that I wasn't really looking forward to.
Yes.
And then once I graduated, I mean, people may say, oh, he's part of the matrix now, this and that. But
he's been brainwashed out there in the work world.
Exactly. And maybe I have, I don't know. But from my experience, I was dreading it coming out of college. And then once I actually got out there and started doing it, yeah, some days stink. Other days are good, but overall, I've had 2 jobs since I graduated, and both jobs have been awesome, and I've enjoyed them the majority of the time. Something else that's also come up is that I think people really make up your experience in anything. Where there'd be days I'd be like, oh, I got to go to work, but then I'd also realize at the same time that yeah, I have these great coworkers, we're gonna have a good time. And even when I think back to school, back in high school and middle school, a lot of my fond memories are those just memories with people, like kids you grew up with. It's not so much the schoolwork or the projects. And that's the same thing with work. Yeah, there's cool projects that we're a part of, but being part of that culture and the people you surround yourself out with work can help bring you through those moments of maybe you wake up 4 days in a row and you don't want to go to work, but each day you keep going because the people that you work with, and eventually there's gonna, at least from my experience, there's a light at the end of the tunnel, even though it hasn't been anything crazy. I have like both my jobs and everyone I've worked with for the most part.
Yes, because you're on a team again. Maybe it's almost like a different type of sport for you, and it's business now. But at the end of the day, if you get out competed, you're gonna lose.
Yeah, but there's also, I feel like in business, there's room for multiple winners.
I agree.
So you may not have the best team per se, but you can still be ultra successful because there's just the volume and the pool of people are playing in. There's so many different pools. You could be a big company in a really small pond and be ultra successful, or you could be a top dog in the S&P 500.
Yes.
So competition helps people to keep going and keep going. And I was reading or listening to a book about Sam Walton, the owner of Walmart, and he was a big proponent of going to his competitors because his thought process is that every company is probably doing at least one thing really well. So you find out what they're doing really well and then help that provide you inspiration of what you can do better or what you're up against. So I thought instead of looking at what people are doing bad, look at what they're doing well and use that as the measuring stick.
Yeah, learn from them and take their strengths, what you're doing. Brand's been reading the book about Sam Walton and the whole Walmart family.
Yeah.
It's had a lot of good insights for him. I mean, that's an iconic American business. I mean, Walmart today is still one of the best brands probably in America.
Yeah, it is amazing. And that's another thing that we talk about is that we see these ultra successful people in terms of monetary value or building a crazy business. And it seems there are different categories where some people have to put in crazy amount of hours in order to get this output. And then other people could come out with, still put in crazy amount of hours, but they come up with this really innovative idea, such as, I mean, the example is Zuckerberg, what we talk about.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I was able to just create Facebook, and then from there it just took off.
Yeah, well, I mean, that took a ton of hard work in it, but it wasn't.
To get ready.
I don't know if it was really bootstrapping the business compared to some people that might have to.
Yeah, it wasn't like it took them 40 years of just building out store after store, building after building.
Yeah.
But yeah, just his mind, the creativity and genius right there.
Yeah. So, cool.
It's fascinating. I think one interesting thing about Walmart too is even today they still have a greeter at the front door, someone to make sure people are welcome, just the value of hospitality. That, I mean, some people might say it's foolish, but I think it probably does make a difference, and their business is endured, so we must put some type of factor.
100%. It depends on the business too, because they talk about customer comes first in that. And Sam Walton was a big proponent of however his associates treat the customers is the most important relationship, because having that repeat business is what's going to drive the volume. And he really stressed, and it sounds like that's the case still to this day, is that customer to associate relationship. But another interesting thing too is when these companies go through family generations, how they end up. I don't know too much in terms of how it's going now with the second and maybe third generation coming, but it's always fascinating when you have a founder and they try to get their family involved and then try to get it to that next level, or potentially could plateau or it could decline, which is, I think it's a human, not dilemma, but it's just something that humans have dealt with since the dawn of time, even with kings leaving it to their sons, which is an interesting idea and topic.
Yeah, I think we talk about the next generation of American workers right here. Because I know that's one of our big topics that we're bringing out, because too much right now, I think in the media, people are saying, oh, young people aren't motivated, they're not this, they're not that. But at the end of the day, a lot of the people who are out there saying, oh, it's a 9 to 5, not putting in the hours, are older than the younger generation. They're not setting the right example. They're already trying to tell them you're lazy, you're not doing a good job. So we're trying to go out there against that. I mean, today, I was out there checking some calculations on Sunday morning, just doing like an hour of work, trying to do the right thing. I think there are a lot of people like that who are going above and beyond, putting in extra hours and trying to take this initiative. So we're going to go out there and we're going to show when young people are working hard to try to change that narrative and get something going. You'll see it. We've dropped in a couple videos, but we're straightforward articulating it here on the podcast.
Yeah, say it right to the camera, right to the viewer.
Right now, this generation of American workers, Gen Z, the young people, 35 and under, we're coming for your titles, people. We're working hard. We are putting in the work no matter what you say. Keep spreading the propaganda. We're just going to keep coming day after day.
That's what it's about. No, I agree with you. I mean, that's awesome.
Yeah.
We're going to leave it there, leave it on the Sunday night, and hopefully this carries over into the work week, strong work week, and we'll go from there. And as always, just staying locked in, doing our thing.
Let's make it happen. Stay locked in. And remember, if you look at your job as a 9 to 5, you're already behind the 8 ball. Let's come for those titles.